it's me, Sanford, KT4AS.
Huh, that's funny. It sounds just like you.
Yep, I'm ready to roll here at 8:30.
Very good, Paul. I took care of traffic on the area net, so you don't have to worry about me having any for you. Maybe somebody else, but not me.
Well, your radio is sounding good tonight, Sanford, as always.
I got a perfect 5x9 on you, Paul.
Well, we can thank KO4IHP Tim for setting up my antenna. He did a perfect job.
Yeah, as long as you don't move the antenna around, you do a great job.
Yeah, I hardly ever use my HT anymore. I think the battery's probably dead in it.
Yeah, you have a bad habit of doing that. I've got 2 or 3 that I don't use, but I try to remember to charge the batteries up in them.
Yeah. I had a good CW contact a couple of nights ago to Havana, Cuba.
Oh yeah, was the same individual you talked to before down there?
Oh yeah, I talked to so many Cubans. One of them that I talk to a lot is at Guantanamo.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's a pretty good hop, really, from here, considering. So I'm sure you're using your range, your antenna you got from Anthony for that, aren't you?
Yeah, that thing works. It's compromised. It's not like the vertical that I had up when I was living in Tampa, but it does all right. I've got about 4 foreign countries on it in the Caribbean and South America. I haven't worked any Europe on it yet, but it works. It's better than nothing. It's the only thing that works. Now the VHF UHF is a piece of cake. It works fine.
Yeah, even where you are, where you're situated, you can get in most of the local repeaters and so forth. Maybe even get into some of the repeaters up in Hillsborough too.
Well, I was able to talk to a guy on like the 20th story of a high-rise in Tampa. He can hit the Sarasota repeater. Isn't that something? It's about 50 miles.
Yeah, well, W4PXE, Dave, he uses the Verna repeater all the time when he does the net, the UHF side of it. And he's in Pinellas, over on the bay side of Pinellas, southern end of Pinellas.
Yeah, his signal always sounds good. Yeah, there's one repeater that's really powerful in Tampa. In fact, I'm still a member of the club, the TARC Club in Tampa, 146 105. It's a good repeater. I hit it one time with 50 watts, but it would be kind of scratchy. And speaking of Verna, I think the 440 is far superior to the 2 meter. 2 meter tends to have a little static on it. I know you've probably noticed.
Only if you're inside. If you're outside, it's just like gangbusters. If we're outside in the field, we use the 2 meter side.
Okay. Well, anyway, this is a fine linked system here. It's amazing. There was a guy I heard on one of the Eagle Nets, or maybe it was the Tech Net this past week, who was in the town of Okeechobee. That's a pretty good trip from here.
Yeah, there's a couple of stations down there that check in from Okeechobee. They go into the Lake Placid repeater, which gets pretty good coverage, but it's under construction right now, so it's kind of iffy. By the way, did you know that in our 4CE system, Paul and Tom put together another analog repeater that's linked, and it's down in Badcock Ranch area. It's just north of Lee County, out toward the eastern part of Charlotte County, and we get check-ins now from Cape Coral, Lee County, several other places. I've got a couple of check-ins from down in Collier County on that repeater now, and it's operational full time. It's on one of the TV towers down there at the antenna farm that Lee County has up in Charlotte County. It does a real good job.
Yeah, and you mentioned Cape Coral. That's a pretty good trip from here. I did a CW contact with a guy in Cape Coral. In fact, he sent me a QSL card. He's a teacher down there, or over there, and it's a pretty good trip from here.
Yeah, there's one station in Cape Coral, I can't remember his call sign. He's got a tower down there, and he's up about 50 feet, I think, but he can hit, used to check in regularly on EagleNet through the Verna repeater.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, we're lucky to have all these nearby repeaters at our locations, you and I. I can hit just about any of them that I have programmed in here. Having a little trouble with getting that one on 820. They have a trader's net on there, and I can't seem to get into that.
Yeah, is that the one in Manatee?
I'm not sure. I think it's south of here somewhere. I don't know. But maybe if I ran 50 watts, I could get into it. I normally only run 25 watts, and I don't ever adjust the power on this.
Yeah, that's 146.820. That's up in Manatee County. The problem, I think, is that when it's different. I can't get into it either, even running 50 watts. But it's right next to the county the courthouse down there, and the courthouse actually is a little bit above the antenna. And I'm talking to Steve Park. I think they're going to move that one, but yeah, it's difficult to get into. Now, if you're farther east, you can get into it from like eastern Manatee County, but you and I are probably in the shadow of the tower and the shadow of the courthouse.
Well, you never know what it's like to be in the shadow, huh? The shadow knows.
Yeah, I used to listen to that when I was a kid. That used to be a good program. I'd have to cover up my head. I was on a crystal, the old crystal control radios. It wasn't a crystal. It was the one with the cat's whisker on it, and I could get when I was down in Fort Myers, I could get the local station down there and listen to it at 9 o'clock on Sunday night, I think.
Yeah, that was a great program. Yeah, I used to do these career day things for the public schools, and I would show them how to make a crystal radio with a coil made out of a toilet paper roll.
Yep, that was world famous for the shop class and science classes back in those days. Yeah, that was my first radio, and then I got a real radio. It even had a plastic case on it, and it was a crystal controlled, and it had a variable capacitor in it. You could actually tune it, and it had another one that you could actually put a fan stock clip onto the coil to actually really tune it. That was a good one to use. I used to be able to get the Miami station on that little sucker, but I had a long wire up in the trees outside.
Oh, I know about the long wires. I was a big shortwave fan back in the day, and I had wires everywhere. I actually have a real high-tech crystal radio set. I never use it, but I bought it from somebody on eBay. It has a variable capacitor on it, and it's really pretty. It's mounted on a piece of nice wood, and it's really cool looking.
Yeah, there's some pretty fancy crystal radios made back in the day. My first shortwave radio was a regenerative radio. Those things were, I think it was made by Night-Kit. Yep, it was made by Night-Kit. And the switch on it for the frequencies, for the coil frequencies, was never any good. So I took the switch out, I got some old tube bases and tubes, and sorted the coils and just made a plug-in. If you wanted to change frequency or change bands, you just had to pull out a coil and put another one in. But it was kind of neat to learn how to use a regenerative radio.
Oh yeah, I actually had a regenerative CB transceiver back in the day, but the only trouble I had was it had some spurious emissions. And how I know is I got a letter one time. That's the only time I ever had any problem with the FCC, that I was bleeding over or something with it, and I needed to do something about it. So what I did is I just got another radio. But those regenerative CB sets had a problem with RF.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, even that receiver, I had problems. I had a little shop out in the back of the house. Actually, it's my dad's shop. That's where I had my radio stuff. And Gunsmoke, or not Gunsmoke, yeah, I guess it was Gunsmoke, would come on at night on, I think it's Saturday night, and I'd be out there and just listening, and that radio would interfere with the TV, and here come Mom, turn that thing off. I don't want to watch Gunsmoke.
It's funny, isn't it? Well, 2 doors down from us when I was a kid, there was a guy that had a huge beam on a very tall tower. And I used to go over, that was my first experiment with ham radio. I used to go over to his house, nice fella, and we would talk. He'd let me talk third party on his radios. And sometimes he'd come through on our TV, and my parents would say, "Oh, there's Russ," and I said, "Yeah, but don't say anything because he's a nice guy. You know, he's doing ham radio. Let's ignore it."
Yep, that used to happen quite often. But anyway, back when I got my novice back then, I was using a home brew that I built, 5 watts, and I used to have enough problem with it, so I had to be careful with it.
Speaking of regenerative, I have a little kit that my son actually bought it for me. He bought it on eBay. It's a 1-tube regenerative receiver for 40 meters. And you know, that doggone thing works pretty good. I mean, you can really hear a lot of stuff on 40 meters with that little regenerative 1-tube job.
Oh yeah, that one that I had, I used to, I could listen to, Voice of the Indies and BBC, and there was a Japanese station that I could get. I couldn't understand anything. The only thing I could understand was the call sign they transmitted. I think they used it for their missionary transmissions that they had into Hawaii. They would use it, but I could pick it up from time to time.
It might have been HCJB it is, in Quito, Ecuador. And one of the engineers at that station back in the 20s is the one who invented the cubicle quad.
Oh yeah, I used to be able to pick that one up, yeah, in Ecuador. That was kind of interesting. I used to listen to a lot of AM stuff too on another radio I had. You could get to Clear Channel station with no problem. Like the one in Chicago and so forth. But sometimes I used to listen to one in San Diego, California on a regular basis, about 2 o'clock in the morning. My mom didn't know I was awake.
Oh yeah, I used to lay in bed with my transistor radio, and I used to listen to Wolfman Jack, who was on XCRF in Mexico, and I loved listening to him, and I never thought in my wildest dreams that I'd grow up and get into radio and do some live shows with Wolfman Jack. It's so cool. When I told him I listened to him when I was a kid, he said, "Well, I ain't that old." But he was a heck of a nice guy. He died awful young of a heart attack, probably from doing too much cocaine. But he was quite a guy, man. What a talent he was.
Yeah, KM4WXX or ID. Yeah, he sure was. I told you. I think I told you I met him out in San Diego. My wife had a brother out there, and we were out there visiting him. And his stepfather was a engineer, broadcast engineer for one of the big radio stations there in San Diego. And we were at his house one night shooting pool and having a few brews, and all of a sudden I heard this voice. It wasn't a voice. It was, his logo statement. Heard it outside, and he came in, and we had a good time. Got to know him quite well. We were there till 3 o'clock in the morning talking with him.
Yeah, he was a really nice man, and he was humble too. He was just a down-to-earth sort of guy. The clear channel stations are just magic. When I was working at WSB back in the day, somebody sent me a cassette. Of course, you know how long ago that is when we were using cassettes. Sent me a cassette of about 30 minutes of my program, clear as a bell with a little bit of static, but clear, from Finland. That was so cool that he was listening to me in Finland.
That is cool. What do you mean, cassettes? I thought I've got one in my truck.
I got a number of them here. I got some portable ones because I have some of my old radio programs on cassette, and I can listen to them, and I'm not going to bother with getting them transferred because that costs money,
I know what you mean. Well, I better let you get ready. I got a couple of things I got to do here, so I'll talk to you in the net. See you in a bit. KM4WXX player and monitoring for the EagleNet.
Always nice chatting with you about old times, buddy. I enjoyed it, as always. And I got my papers ready here for the EagleNet. This is KT4AS standing by.